Hey, what is going on, road trippers? Road Trip Nate here, once again. Let's take this thing off. Makes it a little bit easier. Tonight, as the caption stated, at the top, doing the top 10 slasher movies based on my own opinion. Back during last year, I did top 5 slasher series I have watched. So tonight, I thought I would kind of do a piggyback off that one and do the top 10 slasher films I have watched based on my current opinion. If I miss a movie that y'all think is a good slasher film, let me know in the comments below, or something that I have not watched that is not one of the bigger named slasher franchises. Some of the smaller B-rated slasher movies that y'all like. Just let me know in the comments below. I'll have to watch those. But my personal opinion, here are the 10 slasher movies that I like the best. Starting off with number 10, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was one of the best slasher films. The remake did a good job, incorporated R. Lee Ermey as the uncle who killed a cop and acted like a cop through the whole movie. Family of Cannibals, they brought Leatherface into, the whole shebang. It was just a good, fun movie. And it brought Texas Chainsaw Massacre to the 21st century. The production and all that made it for a really good, fun movie. They also had Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, which tells the beginning story of what led to the events of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All in all, it was a good movie. Number 9, Scream 2. Growing up as a kid, Scream 2 was probably my favorite slasher movie before I had watched, the bigger named slasher films. It was a fun movie because, in my opinion, it was a good storyline. It was almost a perfect movie to watch that I could watch over and over. It was after the events of the first movie, obviously. It follows Sidney Prescott when she's going to college. She's getting stalked by the Ghostface killer, copycat. It just, all the events lead up to the final showdown between her and her previous boyfriend, who she killed in the first movie, Billy Loomis's mother. It was just a good movie all around. Number 8, A Nightmare on Elm Street. A Nightmare on Elm Street was a good movie. It introduced the world to Freddy Krueger, who, anybody that doesn't know, Freddy Krueger was, he wasn't a very good guy alive. So he was burned alive, came back in the dreams of children with knives on his fingers. But Nightmare on Elm Street, that was probably the best one out of the series. To quote Drew Barrymore on Scream 1, the first one was good, but the rest sucked. But the rest were good, decent. But the first one was definitely the best. What one are we on now? Let's see, number 7, Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th had Jason's mother as the killer. It introduced this whole storyline about Jason drowning dying as a young kid. It didn't have Jason as the killer in the first one. He came along after that to continue the storyline, but the original Friday the 13th was pretty good because Pamela Voorhees started murdering all the people that are trying to reopen Camp Crystal Lake because she somehow blames them for her son's death. But when they had nothing to do with it, but she cuckoo. But it started one of the greatest franchises, in my opinion. When I was younger, it was the best slasher franchise, Friday the 13th. So it started that. But number 6, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. That was one of the best slasher movies of all time. Introduced Leatherface to the world, family of cannibals, I believe it was a group of teenagers that were going to some event, broke down, and end up in this just hour and a half, hour and 45-minute fight for their lives. I have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre poster that said, "Who will survive and what will be left of them?" And that's pretty true. It was a pretty brutal movie when it first came out. It was for what the production department had to work with for the day. It was a good movie. It was very brutal for that time, but all in all, it was a good movie. Number 5. We're in the top 5 now. Friday the 13th, Part 3. We finally get to see Jason donning the iconic hockey mask, which is pretty much the only reason, not the only reason, but the main reason this movie is on this list is because of that single moment. You got Jason doing what he does, just killing people any which way, the most brutal way he knows how. You got the teenagers coming up to fool around for the weekend, and Jason ends up killing them all. You got the bikers that are pissed off because the people wreck their bikes at the gas station and they get killed in the most brutal ways by Jason. It's just, and you've got this backstory where Jason attacked this girl whose family owns the property before the movie. So you got the whole backstory. You've got all these things happening. And then you've got Jason, who ultimately gets hung from the barn rafters at the very end of the movie, who's still not dead. Number 4, Friday the 13th, Part 2. We finally see Jason Voorhees out to avenge his mother's death. He sees his mother being decapitated at the end of the Friday the 13th, Part 1, which we do not know about until the opening of the second movie. He avenges his mother's death on the girl that killed his mother at her apartment. And then another group of people try to open up Camp Crystal Lake, and Jason goes on a killing spree to kill them in the most Jason Voorhees of ways. Number 3, Scream 1. Scream 1, like I said earlier, Scream 2 used to be probably my favorite slasher film when I was a kid. Scream 1, as I've gotten older, I really like Scream 1. the best out of the Scream series, just because the movie flows so seamlessly. I mean, you go from the beginning to end, it seems like it's just that quick. I mean, and it's an almost perfect well, it's imperfectly perfect slasher movie because they talk about the rules of a of film, but then they simultaneously break every single rule of a slasher movie. So Scream is definitely one of the best. The final showdown at Stu's house is, in my opinion, one of the best final showdowns because we finally learned that Sidney Prescott's boyfriend and his best friend are the actual killers after being uh, accused of the killings the whole time. Everybody just assumed, no, it's not them. It's them the whole time. Later movies in the franchise reveal much deeper into the storyline, but this movie, it it was just a good paced, good movie. I loved it. Number two, Psycho, the godfather of the modern day slasher film, in my opinion. There might have been another movie. I think there might have been another movie before then, but Psycho, the original Psycho, not the remake with Vince Vaughn, the original black and white Psycho, was al- almost a perfect movie. It was a perfect slasher movie. You had Mother, you had crap. Hang on, I had a brain fart. Norman Bates. I don't know why I had a brain fart there for a second. Norman Bates, who portrayed Mother. We find out at the end it's just been him. It's been portraying Mother and killing people. The movie's just a very good psychological thriller that is just it's a perfect slasher movie, and it brought on the modern day slasher films just because it was such a good psychological thriller, and it's still good today. The original black and white version. But number one, my favorite slasher film of all time, Halloween. The perfect slasher film. You take all the sequels out of the equation, and you follow the storyline from the original to the newest sequel, and it's even better because you take away the rhyme or reason for Michael Myers to be doing what he does, and just simply just be killed just because. Laurie Strode is not his sister. Take away that whole storyline, and it's makes it so much better because it's just a lunatic that's just randomly just stalking this girl and her friends and killing them. So, I mean, it just makes. And there is Halloween Kills coming out, I believe, later this year or next year. I will be lining up to see that movie because in the last one, the remake of Halloween, or the new sequel for Halloween, Michael Myers supposedly burned up in a fire. Apparently not, because there's another sequel coming out. So I'm anxious to see how he got out of the fire. But Halloween, Halloween's definitely my favorite slasher movie. As I said before, if there are any other slasher movies that I did not mention that I probably have not watched, let me know in the comments below what you feel like is a good slasher movie for me to watch, because you know me. People that have watched my channel for a while know that I like my horror movies. I like my slasher movies. So I'm up for any slasher and horror movies to watch that I have not seen before. That's going to do it for this episode. If you're new here, please feel free to hit that subscribe button after the video to stay notified on all my current and future rollouts. And if you like this video, give it that all important thumbs up. Lets me know you care. This is Road Trip Nate saying, until next time, Road Trippers, this live stream is over.